All right, y'all. Yeah, what we're going to talk about these reptilian shapeshifters and everything. What do you think? Why people just don't really get that there are shapeshifters out there? What do you think about that?
I think people don't grasp the concept of shapeshifters because they don't typically see them, or they don't think they see them, right? Even
Mm,
though we know they live amongst us, we see them every single day. It's just those who have eyes can see them.
right.
So most people, they only believe what they can see. So it's unbelievable to them. So they don't think that it's real, which that's far from the truth. They're absolutely real, and they live amongst us. Like I said, they walk amongst us every single day. So just people are they're more tapped into what they can see with the physical versus understanding actual spirituality and how all of that works with energy, vibration, shape shifting. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what everybody do. If I don't believe it unless I see it,
Right.
pretty much. I mean, like people, their whole job is to make sure that they confuse what we see with our own eyes. And so,
That
why
part.
do you think just because you don't believe what you don't see? I think a lot of people don't really, like you said, they just don't. I think it's a concept thing, though. Yeah, yeah. I
Mhm.
think it's just that lizard people are walking around or something. People just don't be like, well, no, man, it can't be no lizard people walking around. But
Mhm.
yet in the Bible, there's so many references to the serpent and the
Hello.
Anunnaki and all. You get what I'm saying? So what do you think?
Exactly.
I mean, go back to some of that Bible stuff. Why is it that it's hard for them to connect those dots?
Well, because usually they take it literally. Most people, when they read it, they usually take it literally. But when it comes to certain parts,
Mm,
then they take that metaphorically. So they're not looking at it as if it's literal. Um, Even when you break it down to them and let them know, like, okay, well, why do we have a reptilian brain? Why you like if we start breaking it down in those aspects, it's still not going to register to them, right? So again, I think it has to do with because they can't physically see it, that they don't believe it.
right.
Um, Although they do the same thing when it comes to Jesus or God, right? Like they don't see God, they don't see Jesus, but they believe that there is a higher being, right? And
Right.
so it doesn't make sense. But honestly, that's what the program is designed for, like to throw everybody off course, to make people believe that these things don't exist, that they're conspiracy theories. So this is just literally a part of the game, and only those who have eyes to see clearly is going to see it. You know, you have to raise your vibrations to even get what's going on around you.
So now, if that's the case, people be like, well, we live in this simulation or none of this is real. And I will say this today because today I was driving down the street and there was a huge wreck on the highway and there was all these cars and then behind us was all these ambulance and police coming and I was gonna do the thing and get right behind the ambulance and let him be my show,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying, to get through all the
Yeah.
traffic. But I felt bad, and I'm glad I didn't because I pulled over to the side of the road and got out, got my drone out, and flew it up through the highway. And sure enough, ran right up on the accident. It was
Mm.
a guy unalived. He's sitting in the middle of the highway on the bridge, the motorcycle. And I'm scared of motorcycles. But anyway, where I'm going with this was, I'm like, this is a simulation. You know what I'm saying? Can't be. This is as real as it get. I don't want that programming that just happened.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I just don't want it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? So we got reptilians, we got shapeshifters, we got all these crazy people. And once again, man, this is a program. And I don't know. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
It's absolutely a program. I mean, we can see the evidence of it on a day-to-day basis.
Mm,
Like if you even um just think about what we watch, right? When you talk about the television, and it's called a television program, right? The
okay.
program, right?
That'll be fun. Yeah.
You got the remote control. Everything that they're talking about when it comes to this television is what they're doing with us. They're controlling us remotely. They're channeling our energy. So it's literally right. The evidence is right in our faces that we live in a simulation. Things, um, as far as now, this video I did on my TikTok, of course, they got me for it. So I don't go too much into depth. But
what they hacked the account? I mean, like took you off air or what? I mean, what?
So they just banned. Well, so they banned the video, and then I appealed it. I won, and then I went back on there yesterday, and they banned it again because now it done reached 1 million. So
1 million views. Yeah. Oh yeah. Man. Yeah.
They didn't want me talking. So, and actually the same subject, and I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to get your channel messed with.
Hey, yeah. You know what? How about any of this kind of stuff? We could talk. I have an uncensored area, right, that we do on Thursdays.
Yes.
I want to invite you to come to that, and then we can talk. We can say anything we want, Kurt, whatever we want. It's like Thursdays. I got some stuff planned for this Thursday, but how are your schedule looking for the next Thursday night?
Let's do it. Next Thursday, I'll be there.
All right. Okay. So y'all, hey, if y'all got the membership to that, members, you hear it down because we need to hear all this stuff she said next Thursday in the Patreon. So if you haven't got your membership, there's a link in the description. But anyway, all right, let me back up for a minute. Tell everybody, tell everybody a little bit about your Instagram, your TikToks, and all the stuff you talk about on your stuff anyway. So just go ahead and let them know. Yeah.
I just have an overall, I just call it a deep thought channel. I basically get everybody's brain cells jumping. So I talk about all different types of subjects, from reptilian, shapeshifters, everything in regards to spirituality, hoodoo, conspiracy theories. I mean, the list goes on. I talk about everything. I do a lot with like palm readings, dream consultations, dream analysis, because, there's a lot of messages and warnings that come through with dreams. And as far as palmistry, there's a lot that we can learn about, where we come from as well as where we're going when you talk about reading the palms. So, I offer those services, but I also talk about a lot of that on my channel.
We're gonna talk about a lot of it tonight then, because I mean, we live and and it's we passed the weekend, and for those of you who will be watching this on Forbidden Knowledge as our replay tomorrow, but it's I don't know, and we talk hours when we're on the phone too, so it can just go anywhere. So let's just have one of those conversations, and we'll just go that route. But let's go back to shapeshifter first. We're gonna talk a little bit about the centers, because I definitely want your take on that, because everybody's got these mixed emotions about it. Of course, we know the reptilians are after our energy. We'll discuss some of that tonight too. Yeah. I mean, because people just don't get it. And I be like, dude, you got to keep your vibration up. You got to. These fuckers are feeding off our energy.
Exactly.
And in fact, let me just start there, because I'm sitting here like, okay, we should know now, if not, that we're light beings, right?
Right.
And everything is energy. And I have been doing this CIA thing, with the I forget the whatever it was. It'll come back to me. I got a brain freeze. But anyway, I've been doing this outer body thing, and there was a chapter on it. He was talking about food, and I was like, shit, I'm fit to learn what to eat. I'm fit to find out, eat these vegetables, whatever energy vegetables I'm thinking, right? And then he starts saying, close your eyes, meditate, visualize 2 balls of energy in your hand, and you can feed off of it. And he was like, we really don't need physical food as much as we think.
Right.
It's sun energy or we're light beings. And I was like, what? And he was like, visualize the 2 balls in each hand and begin to feed. I'm like, it just didn't taste good. I couldn't do it, but I get it. Right. And I'm like, but now I understand it. I'll sit down and I'll sit and just go. So if we want to think about, they're teaching that there's energy, and then we got these reptilians that's supposed to be in this other dimension feeding off our energy, and give me your take on all of that part. Let's connect some of those dots a little bit. Reptilians, energy feeding, loosh, or whatever they want to call it.
Yes, so that's absolutely what they're doing, what they've been doing for eons. And so when we talk about vibration and them feeding off of us, we have to think about it. I'll tell you guys, like my mother used to tell me when it came to dogs. I used to hear her always say, don't let the dogs smell your fear. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, how, first of all, how can a dog smell fear? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
So it wasn't until I, came into my wisdom where I started to acknowledge what that actually meant. And so when you talk about vibrations and energy, these are different waves that you're sending out into the universe. And depending on the frequency of the being, they know, or they feed off of certain energies and vibrations. And for them, this is fear, anxiety, all of these lower level emotions. They're feeding off of it. They have to have people in these states, anger, all of these root chakra energies, lack, scarcity. This is why we speak certain things, because we've given this specific language for a reason. The language is what shrunk our brains, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to energy, everything literally is energy. So from what we speak, and like I said, all of the things that they have us saying within this English language, which they stole from many other different languages and just put it together, it's literally teaching us to speak the things that we shouldn't be speaking of ourselves, such as death and all of the things that they need us to speak, because they need us in this specific vibration or frequency. And so when it comes to them feeding off of it, they don't get anything out of when you're happy, when you're
Right.
living in gratitude. They don't want you in that state, which is why we've been under a spell, right? We've literally been under a spell. And it's obvious when you talk to certain people, when you raise your vibrations and you start talking to other people, you can completely see the spell and how much we have been indoctrinated. So, like you were asking, when it comes to this energy and us, as far as like, when you were talking about the guy was teaching about the balls and feeding off of that, that's absolutely true. Even the food was given to us because it lowers our vibrations. We didn't need the food. But notice how most people are addicted to food, right? And so they know they want. Listen, the sugar gets me. Okay, the sugar gets me sometimes. So I'm subject to it as well. But these entities, these beings, know exactly what to push out there to keep us in the state that they need us to be in. And if they didn't need us to be in that state, fear, anxiety, lack, scarcity, then they wouldn't push all the things they do in the media, in the news.
Yeah.
Amongst just the general population. If you just talk to with religion, religion was one of the biggest ways that they got people under a spell, and keep people in the lowest vibration. When you think about religion, it teaches you kind of that you're worthless, right? That you have to look outside yourself for a savior. But they're not telling you, they know how important your body is. They know how intricate our bodies are, right? They know everything about our bodies, pretty much. But we don't know. And so they can literally control everything about us because they know everything about us. And so the biggest fear that they have is the times that we're in right now, which is raising our vibrations, having knowledge of self. Because if we have knowledge of self, there will be no need to be in fear. There will be no need for us to look outside of ourselves for a savior. And then that means that they don't get to feed anymore because they need us in that low vibrational state.
Yeah.
So everything is like a loop. It's a cycle. They need us to continue because we literally feed the system. Just like with AI, the AI has to mimic something. It's mimicking us. It's us feeding everything. And so they know this. But they try their very hardest to make sure that we stay in the lowest place.
It's crazy because now, all right, we know religion is orchestrated, like you said, to be that control mechanism. But yeah, I used to go to the potty sales, and you're in there and they, you got the choir jumping and you thinking whatever, but you start feeling like, if I was a deity or negative deity or whatever, and if I was a reptilian and I'm feeding off energy and all of the components of that, negativity and, like you say, anxiety and all that, how can I get more souls? And it'd be like, I will build a mousetrap, the best mousetrap for souls that you can find.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be a church? You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to wander into this damn thing, this lost soul.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, because I don't think people get that a lot of these mega pastors, and I'm not going to call no names.
I want to thank everybody who's got your copy of the Book of Sacred Secrets. I've been getting incredible reviews on people and how this has been helping people today. This is something that you must have in your arsenal. This book is going to be life-changing for you. It's a downloadable copy, so you'll be able to print it up, print a sheet up, or whatever you want, study it, take it to work, give it to someone, and maybe some in particular information. But this is something that you need in your arsenal. Go to the website. The link is right here in the description. It's also in the video as well. And don't forget, again, search for Roderick Martin. Come over to the YouTube channel so we can keep getting this information out. Thank you very much.
And I don't think people get that. I don't think people get that they worship Satan or satanic things behind the scene, and they're a part of that. And speaking of that, though, let's go here, though. When we think about demonic things, these demons, reptilians, so are we dealing, in your opinion, like these all are different? You got the reptilians, you have these deities, because then you got, of course, worshiping the snake knowledge. We'll get into that in a minute, but
Right.
Is it all these different layers are all after this perfect beings that was created by God, which are humans? Like everybody's like, we need that. We need those
Right.
people. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on the separation of reptilian control now? Because when we think of some of these celebrities and they all out there doing Baphomet or whatever they want to do, what is your connection with them two together? Your thoughts?
So when it comes to demons, in my mind, demons are just literally another lower aspect of ourselves, right? So we have godlike selves and then the demonic side, duality, right? There's two sides to everything. So when it comes to demons, or what people like to call the devil, or so on and so forth, just think about it in the sense of religion. They always find somebody to blame it on, which would be the demon or the devil, when ultimately it's you. Because think about it. Anybody can be pushed to the max, right? Anybody can be pushed to the point where they start doing what people would consider demonic or devilish, right?
Okay. All right.
So when you think about that, it's when religion teaches you no accountability, because it always tells you to praise God, which they want you to believe it's outside of you. So they want you to praise this deity in the sky, right? That's coming to save you. They also want you to blame the devil or the demons for the things that you do, when it's literally you. It's you doing all of the things, because you are all of the things. You are the Icke, right? And so now when it comes to the celebrity aspect of it, we have to think about who controls that industry. Leads back to who? The reptilians. So all of that is interconnected with that species of reptilians, right? So it is lower level demonic type behavior, but this being of reptilians, they're a whole being of reptilians. It's not, the demonic force lies within those celebrities or lies within us. And so a lot of them are still put under the spell, but they willingly, most of the time, they willingly enter into that lifestyle. And so that's when you come to hearing the terms, they sold their soul, and things of that nature. So who are they selling their souls to? Those beings, those different entities, because they're the ones who's the puppet masters. And so I think when people start talking about demons and all of that, and then try to associate it with those beings, I think they get confused, because the demons are literally another aspect of you. It just, religion teaches you not to be accountable.
And it's kind of funny too, if you really just take a picture of it, in your mind, that you look over there and you see this guy sitting on the wall just crying. And you walk up to him and say, "Hey man, why are you crying?" Find out it's the devil. And he go, "Man, everybody always blaming everything on me." You know what I'm saying? It's like, whatever, but you're right. It's like they gave the scapegoat, or it's like Dr. Phil, it's not your fault. The invention of it's not your fault. That's in marketing, everything. Just relieve people of the word responsibility for it's not your fault. It is because of this.
Right.
And yeah, I just think it just gets as wild as it can get when it comes down to how we perceive these things. So, my other thought is if it gets down to where we're just talking about reptilians, deities, and the control factor, because I don't know if you saw, there was a thing that went around Instagram recently, and I saved it to my phone. It was a girl. She was new to the rap industry, or I don't know if she was new, but she was crying or about to cry. She said that, y'all, I shouldn't be saying this. She said, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. She said, I only got into rapping to move my kids from, the projects or wherever. And she said, I signed a contract with a company, and she went through the fine print later, and it's in the contract verbally that she sold her soul to Satan. And she was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of this. I can't do it. I'm letting y'all know this is real. And it's like, wow. And then you even see Cardi B is changing right now. I just want to be a mother. And I was watching her doing a live, and maybe a little old, but she was rapping on one of her lives, and her daughter came walking up behind her through the breezeway, through the hallway. Right. And when she looked and saw that, she stopped and make sure she doesn't hear, because she always said that her kids doesn't listen to her stuff. And I'm going, why on the flying F that we will allow our kids to hear it, and she don't want her own kids listening to her stuff. Right. And she knows that it's pushing demonic things. Why people just don't pay attention to that? And these celebrities are the ones that are trying to get off from under the spell, or trying to tell us, but nobody's paying attention.
You're right about that. And honestly, a lot of people probably look at it and say, well, she probably don't want her daughter to hear that because of the lyrics. But I honestly think it goes deeper than that. They know what goes into it. I mean, we have to think about the things that they do to this music. When you think about even like the backmasking, where they put different subliminal messages in the songs, but you play it backwards and you hear those messages. But when you're playing it forwards, of course, you don't hear it on a physical level, but your subconscious hears it. And so now your now if you listen to this song, you get these certain feelings, and you don't even know why, right? And it's because of the frequencies that they're putting behind the music. So a lot of these celebrities know this. I'm sure when they go into initially, they may not know. But I think in this day and age, most of them should know, right? They should be on TikTok or Instagram or wherever, YouTube, talking about it. So, I mean, they should know, but again, for the love of money, right? So, I mean, people will do whatever. And then I don't come from a place of judgment. I try not to anyway, especially when it comes to our community and how they kind of get us, in the chokehold. Right. Because, think about it from the aspect of people who grew up literally with nothing, and now they're presented with an opportunity to have everything, or what they consider everything, right? And then they get in it and realize it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. So I don't come from a place of judgment, because I get it from our people's aspect. They just trying to make their way out, right? And so then they get in it, and now they in it, and they realize it's like the game, you can't get out.
And it's but check this out though. Why? So we're gonna do a little role playing here.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, pretend you, and of course you're not, but just pretend I'm a rapper, and you're the person that's getting ready to have me to sell my soul. Okay. Let's have a quick conversation, because I have a question that I will ask the devil or somebody before I sign the contract, right? And they gotta be not asking the next question. They can't be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So let's just go through. Let's ad lib make this up. But I'm looking at the contract. I'm about to sign it, and I say, "Well, excuse me. There's a rumor that you burn our ass forever in hell. If I sign this, even though I'm gonna live good here, are you gonna burn me up the rest of whatever? Am I gonna feel it? you know?
Right. I mean, honestly, you know about karmic retribution. So
Right.
I believe they tell them, you know, if they ask, more than likely they tell them, or they kind of give them some kind of hint, right? Because they have to.
Who
They know.
goes for that? I mean, it's like you have to know that you only live once here. And you go, okay, for the next 30 years, you're going to live just virtually rich.
Right.
But when it's done, I'm coming back to collect my things from you. And the next eonic, whatever, because there's no more time, you're going to be on my grill, supposedly. Okay.
Right.
So supposedly, right?
Mhm.
Because obviously either that, or they know something we don't know. Because I'm already starting to get suspicious when I study the serpent stuff, the reptilian stuff, and it's almost like I've said it before. It's like they got us praying this way and somebody else is praying that way. Even then, when I start going downtown Dallas and I was looking at some of the 100-year-old churches, and you would think that some of the people or ministers in our community were taught by their people, you know.
Mhm.
And it's like all other churches got the zodiac signs all over the doorways, which Plato and Socrates said it's the gateway to heaven. But you go up here to where I'm at on the street corner, there's a church in a storefront building, and they ain't got nothing to do with zodiacs, and they don't want you to know nothing about astrology connecting to whatever.
Mhm.
But then we get into everybody want to be a rapper, and then all of a sudden you get them coming back saying, oh, I sold my soul to the devil, as though they are wearing it with a priceless hat.
Mhm.
And I'm saying, if I'm reading this contract and you got me $30 million over here, and of course I'm living right now, I got $3 in my pocket, you know, 30 million, $3 in my pocket.
Mhm.
And man, you're going to live real good for the next 30 years, but we're going to burn the hell out of your ass pretty soon. And you're going to burn. In fact, oh, by the way, we need a sacrifice. You got anybody you want to give up? I mean, do they not ask the questions before they say, fuck it, man? And, well,
let me ask you. Okay.
you know what I'm
You
saying?
don't have no family members who you look at and say, I know he signed that dotted line with no question.
Well, you know what? I might have, and then don't get me wrong. If it wasn't the burnt up part, and they go, well, you signed that contract, Roderick, but one of your family members got to go, I'm going to be like, well, me and my older brother don't get along that much. So, you know,
you see?
you're like, well, you know what? He did steal my Tonka toy when we were kids, and I'm still holding that trauma. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know, and so I get it. But I'm sure there'll be some family members be like, you know what? You know, shit, Rod out of here, you know.
Exactly.
It'd be like, damn. And it's like they would do it, but it because when you start looking at these people and all the stuff we're supposed, now let's do a devil's advocate here. Oh, why the words, right? Cliche. Are they winning though? Is satanic winning? Because it's all we see. We see all the riches. We see they got the TV, they got the glamour, and now you said duality.
Mhm.
I'm starting to read in the books that I started reading duality in more of the is it Rosicrucian studies or something. I'm reading all these different religious studies, right? And one in particular, their whole thing is for every bad deed, you just got to do a good deed because it's duality. So when you think about these billionaires who are just whacking people off with some of this stuff, but they're also philanthropists. And they are like and you can see it in some of our politicians. We don't have to call their names, but so I know I flipped the two gears right there, but are we missing something? Because I mean, can't everybody be just like, you know? So I don't know. We'll get into that, but
I mean, just a short answer. When it comes to duality, you have to think about it. We have to have a balance, right? We can't have everybody good.
Right.
But I mean, or can we? Like, that's another topic though. Like, were we living like that at one time? You know, from all the things that I've read and studied, we were like, we were living in harmony. We were living in balance. So then comes along this patriarchy agenda and everything changed. So, you know, I guess in this time that we're in, we have to have that sense of duality where you have the negative in the positive, right? But I don't know. I just feel like that's a hard one, because even when you take it back to nature, if you look at animals, and they do things as far as, okay, we take it back to the Ten Commandments.
You think you're talking about me? If I was a lion and I meet a new woman and she got a bunch of cubs that's not mine. Now,
Right.
Of course, today I'm expected to be stepdaddy, but in the wild, I get to eat them.
That's
you get what I'm saying? They ain't mine. They're not mine. I'm not going to feed them. Not going to go kill for them. I get to eat them or
Right.
take them out,
So what's the difference? Is it intention? Like, is it because, honestly, for me, I feel like our consciousness are all connected, even with nature, right?
Okay.
However, I think because we are living this human experience, it looks different for us, because here comes morality, right? It's the question of morals. Whereas,
all right, let's pause right there. You just said something. You said, because we live in a human experience, could Satan be telling these people, this is just a human experience? I just want your soul for the human experience, not the afterlife. I'm going to let you go there. So sign here for $30 million. Give me a sacrifice for the human experience. It's not real anyway, y'all. It's not real. You remember, this is just a made up thing. Y'all in consciousness. See, could they be hearing more information that's getting them to say, oh shit, this is a good deal?
I don't think so. I think they just hear that thing.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm signing. Like, because when you even think about it, you can't talk about selling your soul and say that's only based off of human experience, because a soul, that's a spiritual thing, right?
Okay.
So that's not a physical thing. Like, I can't grab and touch the soul with my hand.
Right.
So it's even when we think about what does that even mean, because I hear a lot of people say, what does that even mean? How do you even sell your soul? It's basically just literally giving up your freedom, right? Like giving up everything that pertains to you in a spiritual sense. So like they have full control over you, full control over what you do, how you think, because now you start getting into that MK Ultra and then tapping into that. So they're literally being puppeteers. They're controlling the people. And so that's what selling your soul looks like. Like, you have no control over yourself. Literally somebody else owns you, if you want to think about it in that sense, because you can't think for yourself. Think about when they get out of control, these celebrities, they start speaking a little too much, right? What happens?
And all of them get off the freedom train is what they call it. They all get put off the train. Always.
So they put them right back in check. They show them, or they'll give them a little warning and say, hey, you're talking a little too much. You better pipe it down. So, that's showing the control that they have right there. So when they're talking about selling their soul, that is a spiritual thing, because we are sovereign beings. Like, that is our birthright. So to give up your freedom in that,
according to Jordan Maxwell, our parents gave that away when we were born at the doctor, and the certificate of birth versus the birth certificate. It's like, oh, we got sold. Yeah.
We did. I mean, in some ways we did, but we can take that back. We can reclaim our power at any given time. We don't have to be subjected to that when we know better, right?
Right.
So, because we are in those times where we know better, we don't have to follow along with that anymore. But again, our parents was doing what they were taught, and so on and so forth.
And like so forth. Yeah.
So even when I think about it now, like in regards to religion, they were literally just spewing out the things that they were taught and told. Most of my grandparents or my aunts or uncles that was into religion could never tell you specifically what things meant in the Bible. They can just literally regurgitate it to you from what the pastor told them. So they don't know the knowledge for themselves. They know based off of what they were taught. And then it's just continued. So most people, like when they even look at that book, because we can look at the book and take a lot of knowledge out of it if you're looking at it metaphorically and allegorically.
Right.
But if you're looking at it literally, that's where the problem comes in. Because like I said, it teaches you that you are literally worthless, that you're not powerful, you're powerless. And for us in the Black community, just like you were talking about with the churches, how, you know, I was in church and I did a story time on my TikTok talking about this, sitting there as an 8-year-old girl looking up at the stained glass, and I could see a white Jesus staring back at me, but every church looked just like me. So what do we think that does to us psychologically, on a psychological level, throughout our entire lives? So then you start seeing our people, so to speak, shucking and jiving for white people. Why? Because this goes back to religion. Because if I'm told that this powerful deity that sees all, knows all, is in control of me, or has power over what my life is going to be like in the now and in the afterlife, now I feel like psychologically I have to bow down to these people, right? And so this is why it's a continuous cycle with our people and the things that we experience in our community, and why we allowed them to do the things that they've done to us for so long. It all goes back to religion, because we were given a white God. Because if color didn't matter, because you hear a lot of people say, well, it doesn't matter if Jesus is Black or white. Well, if it didn't matter, why did they give us that Jesus? Why?
And, you know, and it kind of makes sense to when you say we want to talk to children and you go, well, you know, they really are not going to understand the concept of Jesus as a kid. So let's make them another Jesus called Santa Claus, somebody that's watching them all year round. If they're naughty or nice, making a list, and you're not going to get no toys.
Exactly.
I would always do some stuff when I was young, and I look up, I'm sorry, Santa. And now I'm going, that was some of the dumbest things, right?
The indoctrination started so early. And just think about that. Think about how creepy that is, though, to tell your children that this thing, this being, this deity, and notice, again, we're talking about our community. I'm talking about me growing up as a,
right.
You know, or you growing up as a young boy. What color was Santa? What color did we see Santa as? So again, this is psychological programming, psychological warfare, specifically on our people, because we are taught and told that we are powerless. We are not powerful, when it's the complete opposite. And the biggest fear that they have, the reason why they fear the serpent, the knowledge bearer, they don't want us to obtain the knowledge. They don't want us to use the knowledge, right?
I say that all the time. And I'm real meticulous when I talk to the audience now, because I been really deep into this. And I always keep hinting, guys, I think there's a problem. I think we're praying in the wrong direction. We're praying this way, and it's over there. You know, it's like, something is not right about this, right? It's like the serpent. And you start, and because when you go back to historic things from the Anunnaki, Enlil, Icke, there was some good serpent reptilian that taught mankind how to think, do stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, you got one that said, was put a worship gene in them. So there is some good things on either side of this fence.
Right.
Now, I began, and I'll ask this question, but, you know, you begin to say, okay, is Satan the serpent? Are they two different people? Okay, so then I start looking into Lucifer versus Luciferian, which satanic worshiping and Luciferian studies is totally different. Right. Luciferian is the light bearer. You know, it's like, wait a minute, there's just so much confusion here that somebody's hiding something and they don't want you to know. And why not make it the most insidious story of all, that particular, because again,
I want to thank everybody who's got your copy of the Book of Sacred Secrets. I've been getting incredible reviews on people and how this has been helping people today. This is something that you must have in your arsenal. This book is going to be life-changing for you. It's a downloadable copy, so you'll be able to print it up, print a sheet up, or whatever you want, study, take it to work. Give it to someone, and maybe some in particular information. But this is something that you need in your arsenal. Go to the website. The link is right here in the description. It's also in the video as well. And don't forget, again, search for Roderick Martin. Come over to the YouTube channel so we can keep getting this information out. Thank you very much.
You know, yeah, if all of us in here got hit in the head with a brick right now,
Right.
and we looked across the street and we saw 5 buildings. One had a McDonald Archer, because we're talking about symbolism, and that other one had 2 snakes on a stick. Ain't none of us got to say a word. We're just going to run to the snake. Why?
Right.
Why do we know that's where the place to go get knowledge, wisdom, power to help ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Why would we do that? You know, it's 2 snakes in the staff.
Exactly.
But yet, if you run that way on a Sunday morning and you in pain, you in hurt, you going to the wrong door.
Exactly. I mean, but are you though? Because I'm just gonna say this. I know this, people gonna take this the wrong way, but what I'm saying is, if there's so many miracles that happen in the church, then I shouldn't see anybody in there sitting in a wheelchair. I shouldn't see anybody in there crutches. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If there's so much power and healing in the church, I've yet to see it. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, I've never seen it myself. Now, I've seen them lay hands on people, and I've seen these people fall out. I've also seen them get up and act the same exact way that they did prior to them falling out. So
do you think it's all in the mind, though? Maybe they healed themselves so powerfully with the belief that they can be healed, but they believe it's in this pastor putting their hands on them, but literally they may have healed themselves, or like you said, you just don't see it. Because I saw a clip on Instagram. I do watch social media, and the guy was coming up for healing, and and the pastor was preaching, and he had this he was in a wheelchair, and the pastor started laying hands on him and said, "Walk." And then he pulled off the blanket, and he had no legs. And he looked at the guys in the church like, "Why y'all put me? Why y'all do me like that?" The pastor looking at them like, "You MFs." You know what I'm saying? Y'all should have known better.
But why didn't the pastor see this coming? God didn't.
He didn't see it, right? He didn't see it coming. So I was like, "Oh man, that shit was funny." I was like, "That's so funny."
This is what I tell people, because you know, I get a lot of people that's into religion that get offended by some of the knowledge that I speak, and it's okay. I get it. You know, you get offended by especially if you feel like I'm challenging your belief, right?
Right.
Honestly, I'm just posting on my page, and then they come over there, but they get very offended.
Right. They walk in your house, and you got to cover your ears up for them. It's like, nah, this is my house. Yeah.
They always say, "Well, God told me to tell you," but why doesn't he tell you other things? You know what I'm saying? Only specific things when it comes to you being judgmental towards other people. That's when God gives you a message. I have a problem with that type of God then. You know, why is he coming through telling us what to do for these children that's starving? Or why isn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, why do we only give credit when it comes to either chastising somebody or saying or giving praises to this outside deity versus the person that's actually doing it?
And you know what? And we see this every Sunday, and it goes a little something like this.
Mm-hmm.
You got the winner's locker room and the winners and the loser's locker room. The winner says, "Yeah, I want to thank God for the victory, you know, because, you know, God was with us tonight so we can win this football game. And, you know, I got 22 touchdowns." You go to the loser's locker room. Ain't nothing I'm saying. God must just didn't want us to have that shit tonight.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Obviously, he was asleep when I was running my play. You know, because who protected me when them 3 fuckers hit me so hard that I saw stars? You know, I don't know. I got to talk to God about this. and he was on all of us. There's 52 people in this team. I know our quarterback goes to church every Sunday. He prays. He gives 10%. Last year, he gave $5 million to God, and we lost.
Yep. We lost. We still lost. So I mean, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't make sense. Really, like if you really sit and analyze a lot of the things, and this is how I got into deconstructive religion, because it did not make sense. Like even when we talk about the 144,000 and so many people that to different things, and you know, a lot of people truly believe it's about how many souls are going to be saved in the end. In the end of what? In the end of what? Like what? And who's doing the saving? Because why didn't this being or deity or entity come and save all of the people from COVID? Why didn't this being or entity come and save all the people from Hiroshima and all these other? big things that happened, 9/11.
Right.
Why? Right? Why? I mean, we've been waiting, and I'm sure my grandmother, and I'm sure her grandmother and beyond have been waiting and waiting and waiting for this specific deity to come save us. And I still don't know what we're being saved from, right? The biggest thing or concept that we need to be saved from is our mind, which is Satan.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're right on that, because when I first changed the name to Truth versus Authority, and initially it was, let me see if I even have my Jordan Maxwell clip on that. And it just changed everything to how we see things and everything. Oh, here we go. I think I have it right here. Let's go with this.
Live in peace and harmony. I think we're being set up for something very serious and very big by some very powerful secret societies that very well could have extraterrestrial or otherworld intelligence guiding it. I am very fearful for the world we live in, because we bought it hook, line, and sinker, and all over the world we have accepted the authority as truth rather than truth as the authority. It is going to require intellect, knowledge, study, and making a stand for the first time not to accept the things which your government gives you, which your religions give you, and which the authorities give you. Because as far as I'm concerned, I have a very big problem with anyone called an authority, because they're always...
So what do you think about that statement?
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I completely agree with that. It's funny because even when you break down the word government, like what does, right? Means control the mind. Like, you want someone to control your mind. They're literally telling you right in your face. And so when we talked about the simulation and all of that and how everything is in your face, all we have to do is start breaking a lot of these words down. Let's start there, because the words are telling us, and this is how they get us to agree to certain things because of the language that we speak. So again, when I always tell people, when it comes to politics, I'm not on either side, because they're on
the same team. I tell people that go look at that fascist symbol behind. They're on the same team. There's somebody running them, and it ain't the president. Y'all better believe it.
Oh no, absolutely not. Yeah. He is another puppet. Okay. And honestly, I don't get involved in that at all. Like, I let them go back and forth about that, because that is low vibrational energy. And when you understand, not even understand, when you enter and overstand who's truly pulling the strings, or who's been pulling the strings for so long, then it's absolutely way deeper than what we see on the surface. It has nothing to do with the president. He's literally just a puppet following orders too. So absolutely truth versus authority. I love it. I love, that you changed your logo name to that, because it's absolutely true. I don't want any authority over me. I am the authoritative figure in my own life, and I don't want anybody controlling my mental. So I don't need a government. We are sovereign beings once again. So when you have a government, you have somebody controlling what you do, controlling how you eat, controlling, you have to get shots and all these types of things. Like, you want to be told what to do? Like, you want to be told what to do. Like, you have to think about that logically. It makes no sense. So yeah, that's my thoughts on
that. I usually say this word, but I got somebody else to pronounce the word for me. So let me play it so I don't butcher it.
Cognitive dissonance.
All right, so I always butcher the word, so the audience will be talking. Now, there you go. I said it. I think that's the problem. Word.
Absolutely. Because they can see it right in their face, and they still, the evidence is clear. But also, what I've learned when we're talking about energy and vibrations, people can't see past where they're vibrating. So it took me so long to learn this, but how I learned it is, I live in Atlanta, and we've been seeing the orbs here way before they were showing them just recently.
Right.
So I would go outside, and, my children can see them. We looking up in the sky, and, we see them all the time. It became a normal thing because we see them literally every day, all day. So when people come to my house, I'm like, let me show you. Do y'all have these over your house? And I'm showing them, and they're like looking up, and they're like, I don't see anything. And I'm like, you don't what? Like, how you don't see? And you start to feel a little nuts, because it's like, I could see this clearly. my children can see this clearly, but you're saying you can't see it. Then I learned, oh, they're not vibrating there. So some people
That's the problem. And I think a lot of people don't get that is when I first started this UFO investigator, journey, I used to tag people. This is early on in my career that will see spaceships all the time. And I was like, nah, they're going nuts. This is years ago. And then I realized, whoa. They see them because now they're on that frequency to see.
Yes.
And it's no different than if you go buy you a red, Dodge Ram, whatever, all of a sudden within days, that's all you see because your frequency now is there, which goes back to what you said earlier with television. It's operating on a frequency. Everything is a frequency because if you change the channel to another frequency, you no longer hear the programming on that frequency. So it's like we don't see those things because we just can't see them. And they always say, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Can't unsee it. But some people do. Some people try to. Like even when
people keep asking, what is your Instagram channel and all that? Go ahead and say that.
So it's Yaya _. Wait, hold on, y'all, because I got so
many. That one. She got many of them, but yeah.
I got so many of them. So it's is it Yaya _world 777? It's that on TikTok as well as Instagram. And then I'm also on Facebook under my real name, y'all. Anisha, Anitia. Last name is Brown.
Anisha Brown?
Yeah.
Damn, that's classic. Go ahead.
Thank you. So yeah, that's my Facebook, but I also have another Facebook, Yaya's World 777. So yeah, I'm all over the place. But all of my links, if you go to one of my social medias, you can find the other ones.
All right. I wanted that for Prince. He's been saying it twice. And since we are live, let me make sure I get that out there as quickly as possible there. All right. Sinners. You saw the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And now people are trying to spread that, it was bad. Okay, first. And look at all of the symbolism. And even, you see some stuff. Now, then people say, well, no, they were just teaching us about, history and music and people going to the club. Because you said it early in the conversation that, you know what? And I've been to a club when I was younger. And you can be in there and everybody's chilling. And when they play a certain song, all the guns just come up. It's like everybody's like, and then I was never a dancer. I don't drink, never got high before, never did anything. And I used to feel like, because I would see my boys, they would get all the women, they drunk, they hold their guns up. Now I had my crew, but I wasn't like them. Right. But I used to be, a little jealous because, when the music playing, but then I never heard it. I never got triggered by the music. So when they said sinners, was supposed to have been teaching this thing. Now, for me being a reptilian hunter, not in Reptilian, you're listening, we're not trying to hurt you. I just want to meet you. Let me be real specific. Because some of these people, they're listening. Not the ones in the fourth dimension, because my energy don't let them find me. I keep my vibration, because if you keep your vibration up, they can't find you, right? But their minions can find me. That can go back and tell them he's over there,
Right.
So a lot of people don't understand that the myth, I think, of vampires is the reptilian myth. Blood drinking, when he said in the movie, when to the lady, I drink your husband so I know about your daughter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you think about the blue bloods, the reptilian blood, why they do these sacrifices, blood sacrifices. All of this stuff is tied. And I think over time, the mythology or the myth that came from the vampires was the reptilian myth. And it's like all of this is kind of like tied into it, just morphed into something else. What are your thoughts? So let's go down the rabbit hole of sinners, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. Sinners was so many things in one. The biggest thing that I got out of Sinners was, first and foremost, they can't come in unless you invite them in. And when
okay, all right,
We talking about them, all of those lower level entities.
All right, and people don't know that you and I are cool. So this is not an interview. So I'm not cutting her short. This is how we talk on the phone.
Yeah.
So when you just said that they invite you in, is that if we think that the mousetrap in church is set up to invite the deities in,
exactly,
is that the same ritual with a guy when the pastor says come up and you got to invite the Lord into you?
Exactly, it's the same exact thing.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, now we talk about Jesus, and we'll get back to sinners, but when you're talking about Jesus and Satan, that's the same entity. That's the same entity.
See,
okay?
There we go. All right, there. Okay.
So it's like Satan, their God of this world, God, their God stands for, guns, oil, drugs. Yeah. That's their God, right? Yeah. So when it comes to thinking about Jesus and them saying, come up, and you got to accept the Lord and Savior.
You got to accept him in. You got to invite him into your home, baby. Bring Jesus into the home.
Yep.
And it's like the same on one side as vampires, the same mythology.
Yep.
The same thing, blood of the lamb, whatever. The blood is involved. It's like
blood of Jesus. Think about it. When we start talking about some of this stuff, it starts to make sense because, okay, who's really attracted and addicted to blood like that? Who? What deity? What being? What entity? Right? Okay, now then we take it to religion, and we always talking about the blood of Jesus. They got us drinking this as a symbol in church.
Yeah.
Literally doing a ritual every.
Yeah. They got us drinking the cheap blood wine, but they behind it and whacked off a few kids and stuff and juicing up.
I used to love that grape juice and crackers. I'm not gonna lie. However, just thinking about what they had us doing. Remember though, we were accepting this because we didn't know technically.
Yeah.
Right? But we still accepted it. So in their mind, they know they're not really gonna get hit with karmic retribution because they kind of somewhat told us and we accepted it. So it's the same concept when we look at sinners, especially like when they were at the door and, I forget what that guy's name, the big guy was at the door. Mm-hmm. And, he was going to hand him the money and Annie looked at him and said, careful. Cause Annie knew, remember Annie is the root worker. And, I teach hoodoo all day.
Okay. So, well, go into that right quick then. I didn't get that part. I missed that whole part. I just thought he wanted his money. And he said, be careful because he can grab you. So you saying that was a whole nother meaning in it?
Yeah, that was a whole nother meaning because once you give them something, it's like, it's an exchange. Think about
currency. Okay.
Yeah, currency exchange. So you exchanging something and now he's able to, you're inviting.
Of course, currency is energy, of course.
Right.
All right.
You're inviting. So he basically was inviting him in and that's how he almost got him. But Annie, if you pay attention, Annie was the only one in the movie who knew things before they were going to happen. And that was because she was tapped into the spiritual side of things. She was tapped into the spirit realm. She wasn't talking about pleading the blood of Jesus and all these other things. She was getting the herbs. She was getting the garlic. She was, she was 10 steps ahead of the game. Also, Annie was pretty much ultimately the one, her and, what was it, Smoke? I can't remember. I always get the brothers mixed up. I think it was her and Smoke. They were walking on the ancestral plane by the end. Their souls weren't with the vampires, right? And Annie knew this. Annie knew how to preserve her soul so that she can go on to the afterlife and live her life in the cosmos, basically. That's what it was showing. And so, like I said, the overall concept was they can't come in unless you invite them in. Also, I took the vampires to be symbolism towards a couple of things, but the biggest one was the vampires in the music industry, right? But also when we're talking about the vampires in the music industry, we have to again say who's pulling the strings in the music industry.
Hold that thought right there. All right. So you said invitation, invite them in, and we'll get back to the music industry. Mm-hmm. So in the movie, the scene that everybody was like, all the vampire, even the main guy, he was like trying to get in, but nobody invited him in. Mm-hmm. But when that one lady says, come in, motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? Yep. And everybody looking at her, why did you do that? Is that the same thing that I could be praying one way in my house, studying whatever, and someone else in your house invite the demons in, and now they get everybody? Because it was an invite, but to the, you get what I'm saying? It's like she invited them in, I didn't give permission. The other people was like, I didn't tell you could come in here, but that's all they needed was one invite.
All they needed was one
from one person who was not related to everybody else. Just
right.
somebody say, come in. And I'm using that analogy to say the same thing in a situation, whether you in church, and I keep going back to that, and we'll go back to, what you were just saying. It's like, if somebody else get up there on stage, invite them in. Is he invited in on everybody else because we all there?
I mean, technically,
you know what I'm saying?
Technically, yes, but also remember, not everybody was, Sammy made it out.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
yeah.
Some people made it out, and why? Because only the strong survive. So like vibrationally, right? Only the strong survive. So when the wife, that the Chinese lady, I can't remember her name, but she invited the vampires in, right? They also just wanted Sammy. And they wanted him because of his gift, because he was vibrating so high, like they could literally.
And music reached the soul. So
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
They sensed the music. They heard the music from out there. Remember, they said, like, was that you playing the music? Like I heard it. Like he was loving Sammy. He was willing to save everybody else. They can go about their business. I just want Sammy. And it's showing basically what they do in the music industry.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think of the symbolism of the music because I was still looking for the jux. Because when the movie first came on, Sammy went to the church where his father, and his father's eyes turned red. It's like they were saying the church is the devil. I think people missed that, right? Yeah. Soon as the movie came on, his father had the same eyes, but he was in the church. And I kept going like, why? When are they going to come back to that? Why is that? So it just kind of left that out there,
Because remember, they were insinuating like the father was abusive, because he was like, did he hit you? That's what, his cousin was asking him, did he hit you? He ain't been hitting you, have you? So it's like, there's some things there with the father, which also shows, I don't care if you in the church or not. It's all about your energy and vibration. Just because you sit in church preaching his word does not mean that you are exempt from what they consider sin, right? And so I think that's what it was also shown with the movie.
I want to thank everybody who's got your copy of the Book of Sacred Secrets. I've been getting incredible reviews on people and how this has been helping people today. This is something that you must have in your arsenal. This book is going to be life-changing for you. It's a downloadable copy, so you'll be able to print it up, print a sheet up, or whatever you want. Study it, take it to work, give it to someone, and maybe some in particular information. But this is something that you need in your arsenal. Go to the website. The link is right here in the description. It's also in the video as well. And don't forget, again, search for Roderick Martin. Come over to the YouTube channel so we can keep getting this information out. Thank you very much.
And then we have to remember, like, okay, now when it comes to the whole guitar thing, because there's a whole lot of theories going around about this Sinners movie.
I know, that's why, and I wanted to go back, and Judy, who just put up on here saying that's why you don't use welcome mats on the outside of your door anymore.
I just did a video on that too. So yeah, okay. I don't have any welcome mats. You're not welcome because you don't know what you're welcoming. You don't know what energy is it. Even the people that come to your home, you're basically welcoming whatever they have attached to them inside of your home. And so, no, I don't play those games. I put that salt outside of the front door, all around the perimeter of the house. I keep that protection, baby. Like, you're not coming in here with that unwelcome energy. So, Sinners, it absolutely touched on a lot of the cultural aspects of who we are as a people when it comes to us as melanated people, right? And so, for so long, they've demonized our culture. They've demonized the things that we've literally intertwined into the church. So when you think about when they call them up for altar prayer, we were using altars, and a lot of us that's into hoodoo, we still have our altars in our home, but they call us demonic. But it's not demonic when you go up to the altar at your church. It's not demonic when you have holy water put on your head in the form of a cross, but it's demonic if I was to use my Florida water. Everything that we've done was buried in the church, because you have to think about the people who even started the church. Like, literally, we used the church, or our ancestors used the church in the times of slavery as a form of fellowship, right? They had to, because they were forced into it. So now they're going to use whatever tools they have. They're going to use the Bible. They're going to use all of these things, which is why we're able to use Psalms as the book of spells. So, you know, there's a lot of things within the church that they stole from what we were doing culturally anyway. So they make it confusing though, because they will teach our people that everything that we are doing on our own is demonic. But when it's in the church, it's okay. You know, just like when you go get baptized in that cesspool of the water, when we're supposed to be going to the ocean to get baptized in the salt water, because we come from the ocean, right? Which is why our tears are salty, which is why our sweat is salty. We are the ocean. We are the cosmos. So why would you demonize, just like they demonize sun worship, or when people bask out in the sun? Why? Because the sun is the source of life. It's giving you life. It gives you, literally makes you feel so much better when the sun comes out, right? Versus a lot of people go through depression when the sun is not out. So you have to start thinking about things in that sense. Everything that they tell us is inverted. Everything is upside down. If they tell me to look down, best believe I'm going to look up. Because if they telling me it's something demonic with something, or don't eat or don't go to a specific country, then I automatically want to go. I automatically want to eat it, because why are you telling me? It's always a reason with them. And the reason is because they want to keep you scared. They want to keep you in the lowest vibration they have to, because they want to feed off of your energy. They also drinking the blood, remember. And so I also did a video talking about how is the soul in the blood? Is that why they're so infatuated with the blood?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's something. You just said something inverted. I was thinking, you know, when they had the Pope's funeral, there was a certain group of them that was walking with him, all had inverted crosses, but the masses got a cross going this way. Now, I'm not saying this because we do see a lot of celebrities using the inverted cross, and maybe we can get into that. But I will say one of the things that changed a lot for me went a little something like this, you know, everybody applauding, you know, pastor gets up and then he says, I want y'all to, you know, stand and, you know, for the word of the Lord, we all stand. And he says, turn to page such and such, such and such. And then I never got that part. And I'm like, well, how come I can't read that at home?
Right.
But yet he's telling us to go to this page, read this, and he begins to read it, but I'm not supposed to understand what he's understanding, but I need him to read verbatim to me. And then he changes it up to a story.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And you know, it's like, whoa, you know, and it's entertaining when you think about it, but it does get you to say to yourself, wait a minute, what are they hiding? Now we're talking about a book that has been revised. God's word is revised. It's absolute, right?
That's not his word.
That's not his words. And so we think of that. But hey, I was married, and I'm telling you, there was wars and things that in the house, it was crazy. In fact, I also was watching this. I was reading in some study, and they had the SWAT sticker on one side, and they had the cross on the other side. And the paragraph starts saying how many people were killed, how many people were blah, blah, blah. And he was going down and the crucified and different religion, you know, not religions, but races. And I'm looking at this SWAT sticker, and I got to the final line in the paragraph, and he said, and it ain't that. It's the symbol over to the left that's done all this, the cross. And I'm like, dang.
Well, I'm going to break the cross down real quick. So why we always see the cross, because I've talked about this a lot on my channel, and a lot of people don't realize exactly what the cross is, why they show Jesus that died on the cross and all of that. The cross is literally your mind. So I'm making it. So when we talk about Saturn, which is something that they all worship, when you think about the Saturn, the black cube and all of that,
which is over Trump Tower, it's it's everywhere. Yeah,
everywhere, right? So now when we think about Saturn and that black cube, if you ever open up a cube, right, it's going to open up into a cross. The cube is literally, Saturn is a representation of your mind, and which is why, you know, Jesus died on the cross, because when you think about Jesus from an esoteric standpoint, right, Jesus, Satan, Jesus, Lucifer, all of that, literally all the same thing. So now we're talking about Kundalini energy. This is where the snake, the serpent, comes in. And so the Kundalini energy is rising so that you can reach Christ consciousness. And so when you reach Christ consciousness, you're talking about up here in the crown, right? Where the mind is. So the cross is literally a symbol of saying Jesus died on the cross, the ego death, your ego death, when you finally come into enlightenment, the knowledge, the forbidden knowledge that they don't want you to know. So literally, again, everything is about us. Everything leads back to us. The Bible is about our human body when you break it down allegorically. So when we're thinking about this cross and how they represent it so much and they worship it so much, when you know exactly what it is, then you start to see the programming. They literally are worshiping the fact that they have you living inside of a box in your mind. That's why you hear the term think outside the box. Think outside of the box that they've placed you in.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much okay.
Can you hear me?
There
okay?
you go. Yeah, we got you. I put up that little Trump towers in the cube. Now, where I'm getting ready to go with this, let me stop sharing that one. She's having little issues back and forth there, but we'll wait here. But I think it's something, everyone, that we, like I said, it's time for us to begin to look closer at the information. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, oh, Roderick, you got to practice, or we should practice satanic stuff. I think the thing that we're looking at is that the knowledge is available to everyone, right? We're not. She's back. Oh, she was back. She's back. She's coming. It's going back and forth, but it's working. And I think that you there. You good? You there?
Yeah, I'm good. My daughter keeps calling, so I was trying to put it
okay.
on Do Not Disturb.
Hey, it's all good. So one of the things that no, it's good.
Apologies.
No, you good. You're good. Hey, well, listen. If we were on the phone like we talk hours and stuff, you'd be like, "Hold on," you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Hey, so we having a conversation. They just listening. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we'll do
right.
some Q&A for some of these people. But I think and I think a lot of people don't really understand. Of course, we talk. A few other ones. It's all, we all have these great conversations because, we ain't talking to our family members either about this stuff. If we ain't talking to our audience, who else we talking to? Right.
Right.
and I think people don't get it. Once we off here, it's quiet, and we come back because it's time to share some stuff. But, again, are we, all right. So first, let me go back to say this. What I want people to understand that symbols, we're going to talk about symbols real quick. Symbols is not erudition. It's not tied to one person, thing, or situation.
Right.
It surpasses education, relationships. Religions, everything. So where I'm going with this is symbols is not attached. It's almost like a being itself. It was before language. Everything is symbolic. So when we hear that Trump or a lot of these, celebrities are looking into sun worshiping and all of this because it's associated with some of their bad deeds. Does that deter truth seekers from going, wait a minute, I need to seek the same knowledge? Because it's no different that if me and somebody else in this audience were born with superpowers from God.
Right.
One of us turned to be a villain superhero and the other one turned to be a good superhero. We both get to use the powers.
Mm-hmm.
So I equate that to say that should we study those same things but somehow they got to portray that all these evil people are using this evil serpent knowledge, sun, all this stuff, Satan, Saturn, but yet we could gain knowledge too, but we just what we use it for, right?
Right, absolutely. Honestly, I'm looking everywhere they're looking, right? So
okay, that is what I've been trying to tell my audience for the last 3 months without because you hit your audience hard. Because the first time I ever saw you, you were like, bam, bam, and it's like they walking away. They get knowledge, but knowledge hurts, right? They like, damn.
I'm not
like,
gonna sugarcoat it.
She ain't sugarcoating sugar honey iced tea, right? But I even try to be a little more delicate because I'm trying to say, dude, they got us looking in the wrong direction. There's something. I got all these books on serpent knowledge and be wise as a serpent, and I'm like, it's a lot of knowledge in this stuff. But yet we're just so afraid to pick the snake up, right? So to speak.
Yes.
And they got us doing, and I'm like, no, just use it for your power. Just understand it. You have a choice to use the knowledge, but go get it, man.
Right. You
got to go get it. Because I actually had a conversation with David Icke about 3 months ago. And I was talking, and he knew I'm a truth seeker, and I said something. And he says, Roderick, you can't be a truth seeker if you have no-go areas.
Right.
He said, you got to go in those, because I told him, I said, I don't like talking about politics and religion with my audience. He says, you cannot be a truth seeker and have areas that you are not willing to go.
I agree.
And it changed everything. And when I started going, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I completely agree, but I also feel how you feel on some fronts. Like, as a truth seeker, I think when you start digging and you start finding out so much,
right,
you kind of start trying to pull back from certain things, because I get uninterested in certain things. Specifically, like when it comes to celebrity stuff, I'm not as interested anymore, because it's so blatant and in front of our faces. Like, how much more? I mean, how much more do we need to know, right? I just know the surface level things. That's all I really need to know. And then there's just so many lies that go into it, so many lies that they feed the masses, and so many people that's still indoctrinated and programmed and following these people, even though that I know the truth about them, as far as them being evil and all that. But because everything is so connected, you can't have no-go areas. So I completely agree with that. But from a truth seeker's standpoint, there's times where we absolutely want to pump the brakes, because it becomes a little too much sometimes. And we also go through those points where it's just like, damn, we've been bamboozled. Like, we've really been lied to.
What do you say? Hoodwink, led astray, hoodwink, it's, and you're right, because And that's how I evolved truth versus authority. And I started telling the audience, I no longer think authority is just individual. It's the mind. I said, y'all, it's the mind. They're after our minds. Everything is after our minds. And it's almost like we're in the mind of God. So why wouldn't they play in that area to say, okay, we're going to dictate the mind? And it's so severe that it's crazy of the length that they will go through, which is where we get MK Ultra, Monarch programming. All of these people are, and that's another thing. Like I said, we don't have to go into no celebrities tonight, but another part of that is something I'm starting to venture into, because I got to kind of put some relatable content and say, okay, this is in real time. This is what they're doing. Because also, after digging so much, I did get a little areas where I'm like, dude, they're whacking people off from the stuff that you're going to open up your mouth and say. Right. And ain't not one, although my audience cares enough about me, I don't think I can pick up the phone and call one of them and say they're here for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're gonna be
most of them probably, and I know I got some that I love and they love me and I love them all, but I do know I probably wouldn't call y'all when they're here for me. Right. Say, come and help me. Because at this point, it's like, and the question that you're going to ask when they're at the doorway is, what did I say? I've said so much. What did I say that got your attention? What was that one thing? What was that one thing? Because it happened down there in Dreamland. This dude was in Vegas at the first of the year. They raided him and took all, he has a UFO website and all that. He posted a picture. They came in, they raided him for everything, went to his girlfriend's house, took her out in the street with naked, whatever. And they took everything from it. And right to this day, they didn't tell him that one thing out of the 100 things that's on his website that he posted that was wrong. But they said something that you posted was right.
That's interesting. And honestly, that's how I can always tell when I hit the nail on the head, because just like with the video they just banned off my page where I was talking about, conditional stimulus and basically how they do certain things when they
don't
know.
Get me banned. We'll talk about that in the private area next week then.
Yeah, I ain't gonna give too much on that, but I was just saying, like, the things that they do when they know that you're waking up.
Yes.
So they throw all kinds of things out there, and basically another form of proof of the simulation, though, because we'll go deeper into that. But just overall, I don't even remember where I was going with it, because I wanted to go off on a
That's all right. So Nick, and somebody keep asking, are we live? Yes, we're live. Yeah. Neutrino waves. Yes, we're live. So speaking of that, though, so yeah, all right. So I got you down next Thursday night, May 30th, right? Is that no? Yeah, May 30th.
No. That's next Thursday. I think that's the 22nd.
22nd. Yes, I got it right here. So 22nd, we're going to go into my private area, and I want you to cut loose. We're going to cut loose on all the stuff. So make sure y'all come. There's just a few of y'all, but if you want to get, there is a link in the video description. Another thing I had in here, and I'm going to give you a copy of this book of Sacred Secrets, but it talks about the energy, Kundalini. I mean, this thing has a little bit of everything in here, right? And I'm going to take it down, because I've been getting emails like, man, you saying too much stuff. And I'm like, dude, okay. And so I started running this principle recently. If I'm going to talk about a book or something to the audience that I have, and some of the stuff I find on eBay, stuff that's not published anymore, right? Then I have Spokio, and I go to Spokio and I start doing background checks. And if that book is dead, the author, I ain't saying nothing. I don't care how he left, unless it was just he was 106, and that's natural causes. But if it's any spooky, sudden, whatever, I'm like, whatever's in that book, I ain't said it. I'm not going to say it. I mean, and I got about 10 books that I will not talk about because the authors are unalive.
Yeah. I mean, I feel you on that. I think when I first started, I was in that space where I was like, I know I can't say certain things. I can't talk about certain things, right? But then I got to a place where I just don't care. Like, I don't. And the only reason I'm censored is because of the platforms that I'm on. But, absolutely.
I got hit for me and Brother Joseph did a show. And soon as the show was over, YouTube took it down.
You see?
And then they strike me. And then I had to go through, I was on probation. I had to go through classes. And I'm like, I played a clip that the other dude said. I didn't even say it. He said it. The billionaire said what he was talking about.
Yep.
And they hit me for it. Like, I don't care if he said it. You just don't need to repeat it.
Yeah. And like I said, you can appeal. Like, for me, I appealed. I won. They put it back. And then when it got too much traction, it hit 1 million. And they was like, oh, no, there's too many people seeing it.
There's too many people. Okay. Now, I would admit, let me say this. And I've never said this to the audience. I got a phone. I had a call the other day from a dear friend. We were talking. And it's Judith. She's in here. And she says, I want to bring some to your attention, about consistency. She was like, you first put out the schedule. You're going to be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then, of course, you're not. And I began to tell her that I'm working on some other stuff. But what really happened, and I meant to share this more detail, she's probably in here listening, was that I started running cross information. And then I got a scan or email audit from, not email, but YouTube audit from the Google folks. And because I was asking them, because all of my channel was passing the checklist for content, but it was like, even they said, you should be double the views, you should be triple view, you should be all the subscribers, but you're probably getting subtly watched or whatever. But they came back and said, some of the stuff that you're teaching and saying is not something that they need to go after. So I hinted to the audience the other day and a couple of them, and that's how Judith said about consistency. And I said, but I didn't tell them why, and I'll mention it.
Mm-hmm.
I got to shift and start talking about the people that they don't care about us talking about.
Right.
I cannot no longer on the open airwaves teach and tell and lead directions back to these, because these people are unknown for a reason.
Exactly.
They don't care about all the minions and celebrities saying that they are Illuminati, they are this, because they need that. They need the homage to them. But the ones up above them that we be starting to discuss, the blue bloods and all this stuff, they don't want that. And so it's like I'm now going all the way back, even though I'm gonna tie the reptilian stuff in, but I gotta bring some satire to it. It's gotta be a little not serious, but a little more humorous.
Yeah.
I have to be clever the way I put it out, that we're just some dumb, stupid stuff. Because if you put it with the right tonality, it gets their attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's got to like, all right, so I'm back to the drawing board. Now I'm tying stuff in, and I'm hoping that I do a good job toward the end of the videos, that they can tie it back into these deities and all that. But I got free reign. If I want to talk about Beyonce, if I want to talk about all of these other, Cardi B, all these other people, celebrity fame jacking, so to speak. And that's got to be my new method if I'm going to survive financially and get money off ad revenue.
Yeah.
Because the audience, they've seen me sit here, y'all be like, hey, this is a community channel, y'all, your contributions. And I don't think they get it, that this is what you try to do full time. And I know some of them do, because I got some good folks out there. But I think the majority don't get it, that we are subject to be like that, whether it's our channels, whether it's anything, teaching them things that they may say we supposed to do it. Am I?
Right.
Am I really supposed to take the bullet? And if I do take the bullet, who's coming to the funeral?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Who's going to buy the flowers for my mother?
Exactly.
They're not. They're going to go watch another channel.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And it's sad that you have to think that, because you put your heart, your soul into waking people up.
Yeah.
So only for them to go to sleep on you when you're not there.
And another thing that goes into that too is we know that they do and say certain things. So like when it talks about, people that's waking people up in our community, think about the things that they start doing. They start putting false allegations on them. They start doing all of these different things. And the community is so funny. A lot of the times they'll turn on the person. They'll believe these things, these allegations that's coming out.
Well, I gotta love you there. So I got Neutrino, so we love y'all. All right.
I love you too, sweetie. Yeah. Neutrino, I like that name. But yeah, they do all types of things, and we are subjected to it. But when I'm a whole rebel, I don't care. I'm not scared. I'm not fearful. Like I tell my audience, the only reason I don't speak for real how I want to is because I know they're going to chop my channel. Like
they're gonna chop it. And then all of a sudden you in Bolivian, unless you go start a church. And that's what my coach taught us. He put us all in a circle when we were kids in high school. Mm-hmm. And he sat us down and he said, I know some of y'all are not going to make it professionally. You're not going to do this. Mm-hmm. He said, but if you all get to a point in your life, no matter where you are, no matter how old you get, and you're not going to make a living or whatever, you can't. He said, just go into ministry. You'll make some money.
That's so true.
Dude, listen. And that stuck to me. He set us around. It was the most serious conversation he has ever had. He gathered us around after practice, and that's what he said. I know you have your dreams, but if you don't succeed, if all fails, I want you to go into ministry. You will always make some money.
I joke about it all the time. I'm like, I might as well. Why not? They driving. They got Jeeps. They got Cadillacs.
I know, right?
Private jets. What you need a private jet for?
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. And then
it is like that Marvin Sapp the other day said, lock the door. lock,
I would attack that
lock the doors. I know y'all got the word this morning. And I probably would try that to the audience one day. I know y'all got some word tonight. I know y'all do. In fact, let me just do it like this now. I need somebody to test my cash out. Okay? and literally speaking. And we're going to put it across the screen. But I'm saying it is how they do it. He said lock the church. What did he do? He was like, lock the church. And he said, I think y'all can't get out until we raise. He's like, everybody didn't give 1,000. Do you ever see that recently?
I don't think he said lock. I think he said close.
He said, remember, he said Ursha's close the doors.
Close the doors.
Well, I mean, we're locking you in there. We're close the doors.
Exactly. It's the same thing. Because a lot of people was trying to correct me because I said lock the doors on one of my posts. And they was like, he didn't say that. I said, well, to me, in my mind, that's what he said.
Man, if he said close the doors, don't let nobody out.
Don't let me out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a whole adult, but that's still kidnapping. Like, no, what do you mean? You're not gonna let me out? First of all, dig in your pockets. Aren't you rich?
My point exactly, right?
Why you need my money? Like it's the whole concept. It makes no sense. And again, you have people who will justify that. They will say, well, the Lord told him. Well, the Lord should have told him to go in his wallet. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
The Lord, it's like the Lord keep missing the mark with some of these messages. So when it comes to, just to tie it all together, when it comes to religion, when it comes to politics, when it comes to all of that, when you start really seeking the knowledge, and learning all of this stuff, you realize how much everything is connected. There
you go. I think that's what I'm starting to, I was telling someone the other day, and I said, you just got to get to the point to know, and I'm going to say this, and I don't mean this in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's less people. It's almost like God said, and you hear it in the biblical terms sometimes, like, do whatever you want. And the ones who are dumb enough to follow y'all is dumb enough to follow y'all. The ones who's going to, but I don't think the anticipation was them to do all the things they do to control our minds.
Right.
And it's almost, you can honestly say that they're winning. The satanic stuff is winning in so many ways, right? Not for us who are woke, but the billions of people that are, somebody tested the cash app. Thank y'all so much. All right. Thank you. Somebody keep dropping it. Appreciate it.
But
we have a knowledge ministry here, y'all, huh?
I wouldn't say winning. Well, okay, I could say maybe they were winning, right?
Okay. Well, I'm going by numbers, not so much of. I'm just saying there's more people under their spells,
right,
than people that are ascending true to finding themselves. That's what I mean. If I wanted to take a score, not that they're going to win the battle,
right.
I just think that because obviously, if they control the media, they control the movies, Fantasia, the Disney, the theme parks, the rituals, TV, television, radio, rappers, banks. They control everything.
Right.
Where's the people on the other side putting out their media channels of positive stuff? Because every channel that we want to talk on, they own.
Exactly.
We don't have self-owned media channels of truth.
But if we were to get it, is it going to turn out just like it turned out before when we built our own communities and they burned them down?
They burnt them down, bombed them.
So, but again, I honestly don't look at it in that way now because I know the times that we're moving into.
Okay. All right.
And so when we talk about the Great Awakening, the Mass Awakening, there are so many people. And the reason why I know there are so many people that are waking up is because I see my emails on a daily basis. I see my comments. All
right. Okay. So I follow you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I follow you. I really do. But there's 1 billion following them satanic Cardi B.
Yeah.
And there's 2 billion following. And okay, so it's me and you. So we're going to go for everybody speaking truth, me and you.
Mm-hmm.
We can make a list of everybody we know speaking truth, even pastors that are on the right side of things.
Mm-hmm.
But the numbers don't add up to the other side. They are kicking butt. They run
But
Hollywood, the movie,
they
everything we
control
see,
it,
feel,
though.
and eat. Everything I eat, I'm hungry. A bacon got to dress up like a vegetable to get past here, and bacon is not supposed to be good for me. Right? But I get what you're saying, though. But I'm saying, what do we? Okay, so we're getting emails, and because we're doing our job. So I'm not saying nothing against that.
Mhm.
But shouldn't we be getting 1 billion emails?
No,
You know what I'm
saying though is when we think about how many people are waking up, and of course they're not going to show this. They're not showing the things that we need to see in the media, right? They're not showing people being rebellious. They're not showing a lot of the things
Right.
that we will be talking about. Remember, they suppress us. And then also when you're talking about this music industry and these artists, they also buy followers. You do know that. Like they buy them.
Oh, really?
I want to thank everybody who's got your copy of the Book of Sacred Secrets. I've been getting incredible reviews on people and how this has been helping people today. This is something that you must have in your arsenal. This book is going to be life-changing for you. It's a downloadable copy, so you'll be able to print it up, print a sheet up, or whatever you want. Study, take it to work, give it to someone, and maybe some in particular information. But this is something that you need in your arsenal. Go to the website. The link is right here in the description. It's also in the video as well. And don't forget, again, search for Roderick Martin. Come over to the YouTube channel so we can keep getting this information out. Thank you very much.
How much? How much that cost?
You want some?
Can I get a little bit of that?
But they do.
But I'm gonna do right by them, though. Can I get a little bit? No, go ahead.
But they don't want to show that there are a lot of people who genuinely don't care about celebrities anymore.
Right.
There's a lot of people who's like, I don't want to hear about them. I don't want to watch them. I don't care about that music.
Right.
There's way more people than what's being told. So it's like, of course, they're going to try to keep that under wraps. They don't want people to know all of these people are waking up. But what I'm saying is I see the difference only because 2-3 years ago, if we were talking about some of this stuff, I wouldn't have the reaction that I'm getting now, right?
Well, I will honestly say our timing is at the right time.
Right.
You know, it's like the thing says, being in the right place at the right time, doing something about it, you will be successful.
Right.
And so I do that. I will say that. Of course, I appreciate your message, your messaging, the whole 9 yards. I think we got another contribution. Oh, y'all so sweet tonight. Let me just keep. Our church just may keep the lights on. You know what I'm saying? Every time I do that, like they out there on the pole about to cut me off, y'all, we need contributions. You know, I can't do it like say Jesus said it. Or can I?
All you got to do is serenade them like they did in church. You know, they say, if you want to be blessed, pay your tithes and your offering. They got a song for you to do it.
Okay.
Right? If you want more, give to the Lord.
Well, hey, there you go. I think it's pretty much. But how much time we got? Can you stay about another 30 minutes? You good, or you gotta go?
Yeah. Let me can I just hold 1 second? I just want to.
All right, go ahead and do what you gotta do. She'll be back, but and if she can't stay, that's cool because I did tell her about 1.5 hours, yeah. But when we on the phone, it's 3 or 4 hours conversation. It's 4 or 5. So y'all can imagine. And when I talk to Brother Joseph, it's when I'm on the phone with all the truth seekers on the phone, it's just, and I'm like, we should say that on a show, you know, whatever. But because the conversations just go everywhere because there's no boundaries, right? And that's a wonderful thing to create that circle. And speaking of that, if y'all are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you know, I'm gonna put this on the screen here. If y'all in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, make sure, let me put my number on the screen real quick. And y'all have to cover your beautiful face for a second, okay?
No worries.
All right. So, you got to give a warning for that, right? Because it's like a tornado there, you know, covering up beauty, you know. So anyway, 888-345-9121. That is our Reptilian and hotline that we have. And I'm getting calls. But also you can text, and please, people, if you're going to text, say you live in Dallas, put a name with it so we can add you to our text list, and we can do that. And so this week I'm going to find the spot at Joe Pool Lake, and we're going to have our first meet and greet and then we're going to sit around and have the conversation. It's going to be, and eventually we're going to have some surprise guests and stuff, but we're going to just start meeting, bring the kids, whatever, let them play, because we'll be out at the lake. We might do a little potluck. It all depends. But if it's based on contributions, bring your own stuff. But if it's not, let's put it together. We'll work it out. But Maya put you on a text list. In fact, we put our first text list together, y'all, and we sent it out, and somebody replied, F off. And I'm like, they emailed me. I know who the person is. They emailed me, wanted to talk about their experiences and blah, blah, blah. I didn't get back to them fast enough. I think that's what happened.
Okay.
But it's so untransactional, because that's one of the reasons recently I stopped giving and calling people personally back. It burnt me out.
Right.
Because you call, you're happy, they're happy, you meet them, but it begins to draw that energy. And when they get it, they're gone. They get whatever they're going to get from you, they're gone. And now, except for a few, there are some few people who's watching this now they are my dear friends. And if I meet people and I can sense that, that's going to be good. Like Judith, and I don't even go to the name. It's Harry. There's a lot of them are good friends. I can't even, and if I leave a lot of them out, they'd be like, you ain't saying, but they are. But there are some new ones that come into the sphere. You just can't do it, and it's like they don't care about you. I can say something tomorrow and say the apples are yellow. They mad at me now.
Right.
Because I've been saying they was red, now they're yellow. And he don't know what he's talking about no more, in spite of anything else they learned from you.
Right.
In spite of the goodness that you've done. And it's so so fickle, so to speak, that it's just crazy. And I don't know why I went on that personal rant. Maybe I just wanted to say something for, a little apathy or something. But you get what I'm saying? And so now it's like, it's not about the large following. It's about the synergy of energy of good people.
Yes.
That'll send you the energy back, the vibes back and forth, that you all can depend and be there for one another, because, man, it is real. These people are not playing games when it comes to us, and pretty much. Back to real quickly before I get you out of here too. You got a lot of stuff going on. So tell us a little bit about some other stuff that you have going on. Let's go there.
So I have what I call Yaya Soul Jam session coming up here in Atlanta on May 30th and 31st.
All right.
We're going to tell some stories through the music. We're going to dance. We're going to vibe. It's going to be a great time because, we're going to use the music to bring the people together, because, of course, that's one of the things that I know that can bring people together. So it's just a space for people to come vibe and be themselves, let their hair down, and just live in their true authenticity. Like
a gray hair people invited?
Of course.
Because, I thought because he was just rich that he was just keeping that young look, but he would dye in his hair. But anyway, another story.
And I don't know why, because I love to see people come into their wisdom. I can see them over you.
Hey, there you go. A lot of wisdom.
You can definitely stop through. I know you're in Dallas, but you can always come to Atlanta. It's no problem.
You know what? I plan that there's some times that I want, but I'm gonna see you in Houston. You're going to the Quantum Fest, right?
Oh yes, I'm gonna be doing the Quantum Fest on June 21st and 22nd in Houston, Texas. So make sure y'all come out. It's gonna be a 2-day event. You do not want to miss it. I'm gonna be on a panel along with a lot of other amazing truth speakers, and we are going to be one of the young ladies on there. Her name is Ty Phoenix, and she kind of came up with this different phrase for what we call downloads. She calls them crown loads. So crown loads are going to go nuts out there in Houston. I didn't think it could get any hotter, but I think we're going to shut it down with how hot.
That's Texas, but then let me give you a warning. Texas weather is bipolar. And I'm telling you, it'll be that 21st could be 106. And then the 22nd will be storms, rain, and y'all right out there near the water down there. Because I'm in Dallas, so it's about 2 or 3 hours, 3-hour drive. In storms in the next day like it ain't nothing. And it did not remember yesterday. Our state do not remember yesterday. It just don't.
Georgia is not exempt. It's the same exact way. Trust me. I'm used to it. So, but yeah, I frequent Houston a lot. So I'm aware of that wild weather out there and how hot it can get. But again, we gonna bring the heat in Houston, Quantum Fest, June 21st and 22nd. And I would love to see some of y'all there, a lot of y'all there, all of y'all there. Definitely you, Roderick. I want to see you there.
I'm gonna come, and the tickets you can buy them online, but there is a link in the description of the video, y'all, to the Quantum Fest, and there is a code Yaya20 or something down there. Make sure you use it. Is it Yaya20, right? So
Yeah.
make sure y'all use her code to buy the tickets. Okay. All right. And buy so many. So next year she's the headliner because she has that big of a following, right?
Speak it.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Not she's the what's that song? I'm the headliner, opening act, and after party. That's
I'm all up.
Yeah, there you go. So y'all make sure. All right, so yeah, it's a link in the description and whatever. So let's go into a couple of more quick things and then we'll get on out here.
Sounds good.
Hoodoo. We can talk about that. I got a little stuff. You know what? We were about to go back into some more stuff on sinners because I think I'm gonna have to go get it again. Let's double back on that.
Let's double back. I saw it. So
okay,
let's do it. So I think we left off when we were talking about Annie and how she was the root worker. She was very aware. You notice they didn't question Annie either. Whatever Annie said,
right.
Okay, we're going with what Annie talking about. So Annie was the person to really like analyze when it came to what we did as a people. She had the mojo bag that she gave to her boo, her baby's dad, which kept him safe. And then we see what happened when he took that mojo bag off, right? So that was the end of his chapter. So it's showing a lot of the power that we use when it comes to hoodoo. It showed that aspect, which I loved it. When it comes to the music, when Sammy was singing in the juke joint, you could see the different ancestors because his voice had the power.
See, that was the scene that I was kind of like trying to get the meaning as they were doubling back through times.
Yeah.
Rap, back, and then they went all the way back to ancestors. Is like you guys you're I was like, well, are we tied to the music?
Yeah, but also we can conjure up different ancestors, different spirits just with our voice, right? Because
Tyra B. Henson just at this Meg Gala or whatever they just had this past weekend or whenever, they interviewed her and she said something, and then she went into something that inspired her was deities. She said these ain't our ancestors, our deity ancestors. She started going into that right there at the Met Gala on the carpet.
Oh yeah,
about summoning up the deities. She was like, damn.
This is why they do it in the music industry so much, because it's the easiest way, like through the sound, the vibration, the frequency, and then the emotion. When you put all of that, the intention. So think about it. I posted a video of Fantasia, and she was talking about how she, was asked by a young lady why she doesn't sing Free Yourself and songs like that. And she's like, well, are you in a relationship? And the young lady was like, well, no, but I'm looking. And she said, well, you ain't never going to find nobody if you keep singing those songs like that. And it makes sense because it's like, you're literally.
Someone else said that too. I was listening. Go ahead. Yeah. They was like, man, some of the songs
you singing about heartbreak all day long. What do you think you're going to attract? Like wherever your energy is going, that's what's going to flow towards you. So, we have to be mindful of the things that we put out there, but also realizing how much energy affects us, or, whether it be on a positive or a negative aspect. Like music definitely has the power to evoke spirits. And so that scene specifically, I loved it because it was showing the power of.
All right. So I'm, and this is not a relationship night, but I'm single and I am thinking about getting ready to begin the process of having a new relationship someday.
Right.
So what song should I be singing? Old MacDonald Had a Farm? Or, you know what I'm saying? Is there a Pacific trance or, And I don't. And do you want to track somebody by a song anyway? Because when I stop singing, she's going to listen to somebody else singing the Snake Charmer.
You don't want to attract them, but what I'm saying is, we all love most of us love music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you singing your heart out and singing about heartbreak, but yet you not going through that. Eventually, more than likely, you will, because you keep singing about it. Because remember, the music has the ability to pull on your emotions based off wherever their frequencies and tones are. So this is why some people can listen to this hardcore rap and they feel like they want to go, out and shoot up a party or a club.
Makes sense.
It's because that music has evoked something within them.
Look, Diana, who's our godmother channel, said I should be singing bingo.
You could do that too, but I mean, I'm singing all the high vibrational things that's going to allow me to manifest, things that's going to allow me to talk about the love that I desire, right? I don't want to think about dying and killing someone. That's not something that I want to continuously sing about. Don't get me wrong, I love all kind of music.
So you're saying I shouldn't sing the song to a woman, I will die for you. I will, I'd be like, no, I'm not going to die for you. I'm not going to die for you. Don't even think about it. If it's between us two, baby, if you in the way, you gonna go. You in the wrong place.
I don't want that much. I don't love anybody that much. I don't want to die for you. You have your own contract and I have mine.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think the movie overall, like I said, there was so much symbolism. Like I did a 2-part breakdown on my TikTok page of it, and that wasn't even encompassing everything that was in the movie. Like there was so much. And like I said, there were so many theories because, a lot of people said that this was related to, I think it was Robert Johnson who sold his soul to the devil. And, they talk about that because it happened in Mississippi. And it's like, it makes sense. And especially when you start digging into the history of that and the message they were trying to portray as far as the music industry and how the celebrities sell their soul for fame and fortune. But there were also just a ton of other theories, which I won't get into all of those, but just overall, I think the movie was amazing. It also showed that the Jim Crow era never left.
It's still there, just hidden in plain sight.
Hidden in plain sight. I mean, it's been here the entire time. It just literally in different clothes, right? So it was bringing up all of the things that I think a lot of people or most people shy away from discussing or talking about. It also was showing, back in those times how I believe why they incorporated like even the Asians, because a lot of the Asians were the only ones who would sell to us, who would, be in community with us. So there was so much. Even a lot of people were saying, well, why didn't we see the Indians anymore? The indigenous people. Well, because, most of the time setting in the movie happened at night. And we know indigenous are very cultural, spiritual people. So they know what happens at night. They know that that's harvesting time. And so which is where
we get lunatic, the word from lunar, the darkness, things happen under the cover of darkness. And every time it went dark, there you go.
Just like when there's a full moon, if you talk to any nurse or doctor, they'll tell you.
It's probably a full moon tonight here in Dallas.
Oh, tonight, a full moon? You'll hear the sirens then.
Well, you know what? I was in a relationship to the she-wolf. In fact, I don't even talk about that anymore. But yeah, on the full moon, I would know.
Oh yeah,
in our house when that full moon showed up.
Yeah, you go with certain people, they absolutely are affected by those full moons, and like you said, it's tied to a lunatic. Even when we talk about menstrual cycles, menses is moon, like all of that is linked to the moon, and which we could go on for another hour if we start talking about the moon and my theories on that. But
well, we're gonna do that for another show then.
Let's do it, because anybody who knows me, they already know.
Even though I may call you later and I want to hear a little more about the moon anyway, but yeah. Okay. But for them, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, because I have a couple of books that I just got on the moon, and of course, being supposedly in the ufology world, artificial satellite, but and of course there's a lot of religious books of saying it just showed up. It's like somebody brought it here, so let's just park this thing. And that's the only reason it stays in this one angle. We can only see one side of it at all times.
Right.
So it's not doing what everything else come out. But parasites, energy suckers, vampires, all of this. And so ladies and gentlemen, y'all got the greatness of Yaya here, and make sure, and once again, give them where your channels and everything.
Yes, so you can find me on TikTok and Instagram under Yayas_world777, and I'm also on Facebook under Anisha Anitia. Last name is Brown. I also have a second page on Facebook, which is Yaya's World 7.
But you don't have no YouTube. Why?
I do have a YouTube. I'm just not as active, but I will be soon. So you can subscribe to my YouTube. It's y.o.u, your own universe. So yeah.
All right. So your own universe, y'all go there and subscribe, but don't just be waiting for her because she isn't doing nothing there yet. But just be ready, but go back to Instagram right after you subscribe. Go back to Instagram.
It's some videos on there though.
It's some videos on there. Okay,
it's shorter videos, but I'm gonna start doing things, like longer videos like this, and I'm gonna have Roderick on the channel and all that. So
I'm gonna show up and all that. So I'm gonna give you a little YouTube word of knowledge. Don't talk about Bill Gates. Don't talk about getting the jab.
Yeah.
Don't talk about no transformation type stuff without a little satire to it, so they can know that even the AI is smart enough saying she's just kidding. She don't know what she's talking about.
I'm gonna keep that in mind for sure.
The AI is growing to be sentient enough.
I think TikTok is way worse than YouTube though when it comes to the censorship. So
I'm hearing that though. I'm hearing a lot of people saying that they'll go back, take something that's been up a year. It's like they just changing their policy. But in TikTok on the verge of being bought by an American company anyway.
I mean, you want my opinion? I felt like it's always been one.
Somebody said it was in some of the policy or something. You can look in there and it was saying something.
I did, and I saw Meta's name in there.
Okay, yeah.
And it makes sense because everything is starting to look the same when it comes to like Instagram, all that, like the features, they're starting to slowly incorporate it. So I've always said it. If it wasn't an American app, why when we talk about certain things do we get banned still?
In American culture, yeah. So they're doing that, yeah.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Yeah. So yeah, we have to think about it like that. But there's a lot of censorship and control. So I know there's a lot of things I can't talk about, which is why
we're gonna talk about it next week in our private area, though.
The private area.
Yeah, so we can say anything we want, and thank you, S. Harris, for the contribution. All right, sweetheart. I appreciate you, my friend, and the whole 9 yards. I want to thank everybody who's got your copy of the Book of Sacred Secrets. I've been getting incredible reviews on people and how this has been helping people today. This is something that you must have in your arsenal. This book is going to be life-changing for you. It's a downloadable copy, so you'll be able to print it up, print a sheet up, or whatever you want. Study, take it to work, give it to someone, and maybe some in particular information. But this is something that you need in your arsenal. Go to the website. The link is right here in the description. It's also in the video as well. And don't forget, again, search for Roderick Martin. Come over to the YouTube channel so we can keep getting this information out. Thank you very much. The sugar honey iced tea, you know what I'm saying? And all that good stuff. And but I'll hit you a little later, and then we'll wrap up and make some plans for the private area conversation. But of course we can talk plenty of time before that anyway, but of course just to do a follow-up on this show tonight. But appreciate you. And are you going live again on your show when?
I don't go live a whole lot, so I need to do a little bit better. I'm doing a whole lot, Roderick. I'm not making excuses. I'm all over.
I mean, they say excuses like behind everybody got one and they all stink.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do better with going live. But I usually do go live on TikTok. It's usually on Friday nights. So
well, see, that's when we used to go for hours on Friday nights here. I'm talking 6, 7, 8 hours.
See, I could do that too. I could go. But
all right, then I may do it again. I haven't done it in a while,
Yeah.
and we be up, man. We used to call it Freaky Fridays. We will just go.
I like that.
And I promised them one time daylight. We actually was here 10. I mean, man, it was people was coming back, waking up the next day. Y'all still here?
Oh wow, y'all.
Mhm. Mhm.
I love that. Well, I'm down for it. We can do a shut in. Would they call it at church? Like the,
All right. Yeah, we'll do that then. All right. Talk to you later. Okay.
all righty. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. So y'all have the greatness here. Let me, so that was a great show, us having a conversation. And like I said, those are just conversations we have. And I'm going to start bringing a bunch of other people that I just have conversations with, because I think y'all need to hear some of the stuff that we be talking about at the backdrop, because it goes deep, man. It goes here, it goes left, goes right. And it's just nonstop. And it's a good thing to have people like, y'all, Jazz, she'll be back. Y'all, saw her, when we all talk, it's just, yeah, right? What? Yeah. Maybe we just yah around, but you know what I'm saying? But it's a good thing. But again, if you're here in Dallas, you're watching this, make sure you text me tomorrow. The next day, I will have the location where we're going to have our meetup. We're going to be talking, just chilling, maybe filming a few things, whatever, but we're going to really do it here in Dallas. So I'm anticipating next week of us doing this or the week after, but I'm going to set the tone and everything. And pretty much. So if you're there, make sure, again, if you want to get in our secret areas and hear some of this private conversation, get your membership there, support us behind the scenes. And you'll hear some things that you won't hear anywhere else. That link is in the description, the uncensored area. You just heard how much they censor her, but I finally got a place that we can just talk. It's not a lot of people there. I wish we had more, but the ones who are there are getting some great stuff, and they're going to continue, because all of our future guests and people, when they want to say some things, we're going to bring them to the uncensored area. All right. So anyway, it's been a pleasing pleasure, as well as a privilege, as you know, always, as I will tell each and every one of you, especially, the audience members, I love you, and I've always have and will continue to love each and every one of you. But the main thing is, you heard y'all and all the rest of them, is it's about our energy. It's about how we need to keep our eyes open, because your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. And that is the motto of things when you get there. In fact, you can get that shirt on a True Verse Authority store or WildBigSecret.com store. Either one. Your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. But again, wake up, man. And not just wake up and think you are better than anyone else. Wake up and understand that you were there where they were. And when you do that, that makes you become a better person, where you don't hate them, you don't look down on them, and you don't even feel sorry for them. You just know their time will come when the time comes, and when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So do not go out and try to be the teacher if they're not ready. But in the meantime, support everybody that are true speakers, because this is getting hard times, hard situations. They're censoring us like crazy. And like I said, it's very difficult when they own the systems, but yet we need to begin to have our backup plans and systems, to where if we go dark here, there is light there, which is luminous, as y'all know. That's always been the plan and everything else. So anyway, love you. And y'all be careful of what you're doing out there. So we're going to be out. Oh my God. I don't have to mention no names, but oh my God. Thank you. All right. Appreciate you. All right. For the support there. And appreciate all that you do and have done. I don't have to mention no name, but I'll say this to you personally. You've always been a dear friend and everything else, and I really appreciate all that you do. All right, so see y'all later. Goodbye.
Welcome, Truth Seeker. You are no longer asleep. I am Luminous, the Owl of Truth. The world is blind, but you have opened your eyes. Welcome to the fire of esoteric knowledge and truth. You are now one of the awakened. You are now luminous. Welcome to the rebellion. Welcome to Truth versus Authority.